Apparently I'm moving too much for the camera to focus. I'm going to turn my extra light on over here. Okay. Well, it's early morning for me. Hello everybody, welcome to another UI stream. We are way too loud on the music, so we'll turn that down. I thought the elevator music was a fun touch today. As we get started on finishing the Slay the Spire style UI, the homage to Slay the Spire, and I will jump right in. This is something that we do Monday through Thursday. We do different types of UI. Sometimes we do gameplay, multiplayer programming, share out project files, do collabs with other artists. If you have requests, put them in comments on any of the videos on the channel. I know this is live, so maybe come back and leave a comment, or just leave a comment on a different video. Or follow me through one of the links in the bio links below. You can find me at Loki Game Dev, pretty much every social media place. So get in touch. Happy to have more inspirations, more ideas of things to do. That said, today we're going to try and finish this in the next 2 hours. Let's take a look. So here we are. I'm going to hide that checklist. I'm going to go for a circle cam today. We've got a little bit of... Let's take a look at this camera here. Got a little bit of elevator music today, which is quite fun. This is where we got to. Or rather, I did a little bit of iteration on this off stream. So we do have... What we got yesterday on stream was the initial algorithm that we developed through the help of an AI tool. So I basically directed ChatGPT to turn a grid into a bunch of paths and then solve for crossovers by me telling it how I want it to solve that. We turned that into code, solved the issues, or turned that into blueprint, I should say, in Unreal Engine. We solved the issues. I then wanted to just spend 2 hours on stream just struggling and sort of like fumbling my way through, making it work in different directions. And then after stream, I was so unhappy with having spent 2 hours on stream kind of being boring, that I decided to just put my head down and focus, not talk, not worry about the camera, and cleaned it all up, added some jitter to the points to make it feel just a little bit nicer. I moved the entire generation out of the widget into an object class that we can just call on demand. And so now we can generate this grid. We can do it with different rows and columns, or I call them tiers and positions. I've also created some data assets for this. So each node is now a data asset with its own behaviors, and that's going to help when it comes to adding more data. So if we want to have levels, or we want to have that it opens, right, or sounds or other things. So that's done. Our paths are held in a much cleaner tier node list. So instead of having paths and from to transitions in separate lists and a little bit more difficult to use, we've now got something a little bit cleaner. Let's take a look at the content. So firstly, we've got these nodes. I created this new data asset. So this is the name of the node, camp, battle, treasure. This is the texture that represents it and the probability that it will occur when generated. And so I'll show you, like, treasure is 0. It's actually not in the list of options. Treasure is something that we produce manually into the list at certain rows. Shop, quite a low chance. Let's take a look at battle, is like one of the highest chances. And so if I hit play one more time, you'll see that the treasure chests always happen at the same row, and fires always happen before the end, and the first row is always battle. So that's something inspired by one of the references that I showed yesterday. Someone else making a similar system in Unity, I believe. So that's where we're at with the data assets. for the actual generation, what I ended up doing was moving. We actually don't need end node or start node anymore. I don't think. Yeah, let's get rid of those. We had a lot of the logic in this widget originally. So we had a create map function where we would have the creation of the nodes and then the creation of the line logic. So all of the logic that actually generates the map. I've moved all of that to this map generator where we have a nice function. So this is a construction of an object class, not a blueprint. So it doesn't have an actor location. It doesn't exist in the world. It's just a script that you're just going to run. And so in this map generator, we have all of our logic. iString was recreated. Yeah, okay, so there's some debug logic that's not hooked up here. Anyway, so you don't have a big in-play in an object class, but what you do have is the ability to make functions. So for example, we have getMapInfo. You can override these in children of this map generator class in order to control, for example, how the tiers work. You could override, for example, how the paths work. So this is all the same logic that we showed yesterday, and I'll just take a quick whip through for anyone who's not seen this yet. What I'll do is I'll actually make this a little bit more interesting for people who are watching, and I'll make a delay, make a set timer by event. We'll go top to bottom here. Where is it? We'll go bottom to top. Custom event. Refresh. Looping every 2 seconds. And then we'll just recreate the map. Okay. And so now if I play that, I can put that off to the side. People can just watch that as I describe what's going on here. So it's actually a little bit nasty for whatever reason. Put it there like that. Right. So this is the map that we're generating. Let's talk about how it works. So we initialize, we get the number of paths that we want, and we could randomize this. We could say this is like 2 to 5 if we wanted. And we create our first path nodes positions. I do actually need to turn my music down more because it's actually distracting me. It's no longer elevatory. Right. And we resize our row transitions. We then go through every tier that we've defined. So we have a number of tiers, number of positions, and a number of paths that we're going to run through that grid. We then store the current position that we are on a particular node, and we tally up the left, up, and right for each of those nodes. And if it's outside of the bounds, like if we're at 0 and -1 is an option from this list, but that would become -1, then that's not allowed. If it's outside the bounds, so it's more than the number of positions that we have available, that's not allowed. So we remove those indexes, and then we return those indexes to the previous function. Then we run through that candidate, and we look at the row transitions for our entire row, and if anything is moving, so this is getting every row transition on my row, and the source point of all of those, and the destination for all of those. If that candidate and the destination or the source are going to create a crossover, that's what this little piece of logic does, then it's not safe. It's not a good move, and so we're not going to save it if it's false here. If it is safe and there are no crossovers to any neighbors within, like, I think it's within 1 unit distance, so left or right of me, are they crossing over me, then we will store it if it's safe. After that, if we have some safe positions, we'll randomize and use them. Otherwise, we'll go straight up. Up is always safe. And then we update our tables for our transitions and our paths. So we just store that data. Okay, so after we do that, I created another function that post-processes that information, goes through every row from the front two transitions and creates a array essentially of nodes. And so if I hit F9 on here, if I hit F9 on here, what I can do is I can show you, this is the outputted data. So for each tier, this is every tier, and in every tier is a series of nodes. The first tier has 3 nodes, the next tier just has 2. What we're doing is, because the path actually draws every single node, you actually have nodes over the top of each other. You have transitions that go to the same node, you have transitions that split from one node, and what I would prefer from yesterday's work is, instead of post-processing that in the widgets and saying don't draw a widget here if we already drew a widget here, I actually just want a nice set of data that says these are the nodes, and inside those nodes we have some more information, like what tier is it, what position is it, what type is it, what are its destinations. In this case, this one only has one destination, this one only has one destination, this one has one destination, but you get the point. In fact, they'll always only have one destination node. No, sometimes they'll have 2 destinations. So if we take a look, let's just expand. We can expand all. Can't expand all. That's a shame. So here we have 2 destinations. So what happened in this node is 2 paths, because we have 6 paths generating. 2 paths reached the same node, and they chose to go different ways afterwards. And so we end up with 2 destinations from this node. And that just lets us draw it a lot easier. So now we have a nice map generated in this function here. We can get the map info and save it, and then we just use that to draw the nodes. So we go through our tier data, and this is now just every tier, go through every node, and we want to create a widget for that node. So we create all the widgets. We still use the same logic that we figured out yesterday for positioning, angling of lines, etc. So we do another function here. Again, we go through, we actually cache up the tiered widgets that we draw, because we're going to offset those widgets by a jitter amount, and we want to draw the lines between those points. Yesterday, in the stream, I was drawing those lines based off the exact position and tier, which meant it was like very statically on a grid, the lines were just moving in directions. Now, from my iteration that I did off cam, we actually use the widget's positions to determine where to draw the lines, which means we can jitter them, we can do other interesting things. We could even like move them around if we wanted to. In real time. And so yeah, we draw a line to every destination basically is what this function does. So this is far simpler, this is far simpler. If we look just quickly, I'll bring it up. If we look at yesterday's code as a comparison, it just shows the level of optimization or difference. So I'll pop this open. So this is the video from yesterday. You can see this graph here, it's already quite something. You've got this graph, it's quite mad. You've got a lot of blueprint, like a hell of a lot of blueprint to just run what is ostensibly meant to be a simple grid. And there's some really bad bits towards the end where I just really wasn't happy with the amount of blueprint code faff that was going on, I should say. So we had all these selectors and stuff. We don't need any of this anymore. It's the music I'm playing. So yeah, it's a lot cleaner now. Literally, that's our draw lines function. That's our draw nodes. That's our draw lines. We still have our get canvas position. It's a lot cleaner. In fact, these two are old. So you can see here how this gets really complex. It's not necessary. I simplified this all down as well. So that's nice. And we have a little boss node function at the end that just draws our boss node. We generate a new boss node basically. No data, it's just the last tier. And it uses the the end. And it doesn't have a destination, right? Because it's that last node in the tier. So that's what we get. And we can go in different directions as well. So that's really cool. And what we're going to do today is we're going to start allowing ourselves to highlight those. So let's just get started with a basic hover over function. So we'll open up our path node. I believe this is already low opacity, which is cool. We'll grab an animation. Just call it hover anim, I suppose. I like to call it anim hover. And in here we will add the image. We will add the color here. I'm going to dock this animation. So when you hover, I want to move to 100% opacity. Takes a little bit long, so let's just bring that in. Yep, and when you unhover, it just goes away again. So that's fine. In fact, we don't really need an animation for this. I'll do animation highlight, which is going to be an ebb, and it's going to ebb. This is for the node that's in your current tier that you're on. So I'll do this via scale. Take a look here. Always aliases the texture when you do this. There is a way to get this to work nicely. Yeah, so this is just inviting you to press the button. So we'll stick with that for the anim highlight. Okay, so for the actual hover event, we'll just use event mouse enter and event mouse leave. Take that image, set color. We'll have to add a branch to this as well. Call this visited. Because if it's visited, it's going to already be fully highlighted. Custom event update color. So what we'll do is we'll select a color. If we're visited, or I'll put this, in fact, we'll do is hovered. So we already have a variable for that, so we don't need a new one. So if we're visited or hovered, then we're just plain white. Otherwise, we're going to be the lower color version. You could promote these to variables, so your artists could play with those colors. But we'll go with that. And then here we just update color. Update color here. Have a new custom event. Set visited. This will also update color. Cool. So now, when we hit play, interesting. Yeah, so I think the lines are clipping. So we just go in here, set this to non-hit testable self and children. So now we can hover all of these. So that's cool. One thing I want to do is make sure that you can't highlight it if it's not in, if you can't click it, right? I don't want to highlight it if you can't click this, because that wouldn't make any sense. Okay. So let's have all of our state stuff over here. Let's have our init here. I like to color these green, blue and red if it's tick, purple if it's purple if it's replicated, but we're not going to have any replication in this game, so that's fine. Or in this demo, I should say. Of course we could, but we're not going to today. So that's our color. Set visited here, we've got our update color. We're also going to have custom event set current tier. Hey Fetch, if you missed it, I did some iterations. I have a much cleaner graph design. I got some jitter into there. I've created some node data packets that allow us to define our nodes a little bit better. So these are our nodes now. So for example, this is the shop. It has 5% chance to spawn. I've moved the generation over to a single class. So it creates paths and gets properly organized tier data, which is much easier to work with in the widget side. And then on the widget side, what we've done is cleaned up those massive graphs that we had. We had those huge graphs with loads of functionality. We've now just got draw nodes, draw lines, way simpler. Yeah, much happier with this. So, and then we get our boss node here as well. So yeah, we construct the map generator and we get the map info and we just save tiered info. It's much cleaner. Much quicker to run. Maps. Okay, and today what we're doing is we're animating it. So at the moment we've got to the point where we can hover these. We're going to get it so that we're only hovering it if it's in our current tier. So we'll say set player tier. I actually don't want to do this. I'm going to store everything about our sort of progression in a save data file. So let's make a new folder, save data. Call this node map save data. Okay, so blueprint class save game. BP save game underscore node map. And in here we're going to have current tier. Save that out. That'll be it for now. We'll come back to this to save the entire graph layout at some point. In fact, we could add that already. So let's call it last map data or current map. And so this is a F tier. So no, it's not. It's a tier. F node. F map tier. Should be an array of these. So we add one of these. We have 3 nodes. They know their positions and types. So this is the other save data that we'll have, and it will be our current map. Okay. So current tier is always starting at 0. That's fine. In order to, we want to cache, store, and retrieve one save data. We don't really want to do that multiple times. And so what I'll do is I'll create a blueprint, BP underscore map node save manager, I guess, and we'll drop that into our world. That'll be one of our only blueprints that we have for this level. In fact, if we look in the outliner, you'll see the only thing in this level is this map node save data. We could even create that from from a class rather than it being in our world. So in our core for our game mode, let's open this up. In fact, yeah, I wouldn't want to do it in here because it's bad practice to put this local player stuff in the game mode, because if you're ever making a multiplayer game, game mode is just not the place for that. Player state, possibly. Player controller generally might be where we put some save data. Typically I'd put it in the game instance, but because this is a project that has lots of different projects inside of it, there can only be one game instance. So I can't put it in there, which is something that I would often do, because now your save data is part of your game instance globally forever. What we're going to do is we'll add a new player controller. So BPPC episode 06. And in here, let's actually make our save manager as a component. So it'll be an actor component. BP underscore save manager underscore. So in here we'll have a slot name. I think it's a name. Load slot. Load game from slot. Slot name. No, it's a string. Okay. So this slot's just going to be called node map. Expose that. Let's make sure that that's on our player character. Cool. So what we can do is, because we have this, we can on begin play function load data. Does it exist? If it doesn't exist, then we want to create save data. Create save data, create save game object of our node map type. Save it to a slot. Turn it. That just creates a new save. So if we don't have a save, create save. We're going to promote this to a variable here. Hash save data, or just we'll just call it save data. Save data. So that's save data now. And we can, what we can call this is get save data. And so it says, hey, firstly, have we already loaded the save data? And if we have already loaded the save data, then we just return it. If we haven't, does it exist? So that now we're going to try and load it, right? We could convert this into a cluster function. Load save data. And that should return this. Now, if the save data does exist, we want to load slot. We use the slot name. If that's valid, there's a couple of things I've learned over the years about save data, in particular around like corruption. So if it's not valid, there's possibly a corruption, so we're actually just going to force delete the item in the slot. If it is valid, can we cast it to save BP save node map? And if we can't do that, we're also just gonna nuke it, because there might be a file there, but it can't be read. And then we'll create save data. If there is a node map save, then we just return that. So when we're getting our save data, we do this. So now I have this function where I can get some save data. I can call this, and I'm going to create a blueprint function library to get this. So let's go create that. Blueprint. Oh wait, that's the wrong place. Let's go blueprint function library BPFL map save. And in here we'll just do get save. It's just going to return get player controller, get comp class, save, map save component, get save. Done. So now we have a cached single save data that we can use between our levels. So we might also want update save data. So let's actually add that to, well, let's figure out what we're doing first. So we get the save. We're updating the save data. We should definitely get the save first. Let's set current tier and set current. What we could do is we could just create explicit functions. Update save. This is just call get load and create. So when we're updating the save, we've got set tier and set map. This is our new tier. That's sorted out. That's actually in set maps. That's in the wrong place. Let's put it here. Okay. New tier. And what this is going to let us do is actually click through the nodes. So let's get our save data here. Set map. Put that in. We create our save data. We actually we call this save game to slot. So what I want to do is just create a function called save data. Can't do that because that's some sort of generic function name. Name is already in use. That was here. Yeah. The reason I want this to be its own function call this loaded save data. We'll call this save the data. Right. So what we do is we get the save, we save to slot. Happy days. That's that sorted out. Okay. So when we get the save, we come in. If we don't already have a loaded save data, we will load the save data. If we have a save, we'll load it, we'll cast it, we'll return it. If we can't do either of those, we'll delete it, create a new save data, create a save game object, save it to a slot, return it, come back, return that, come back, hits this, saves, or creates itself basically. In the create save data, we do need to save here like so. So what this will do is it will create an infinite loop. So we don't really want to do that. What we could do is just plug this in. So anything that we want to happen after saving the game will happen there. So create a save and then save it. Yeah, this just keeps it easier to debug in future. Okay. So that's a tier, that's the save data. That's that. In our function library, but we can get the save, so we can do whatever we want from it. In our save manager component, the first thing that we're going to do, in fact, we load the save the first time we need it, so it's kind of like lazy loading. So let's get that next bit sorted. So got our player controller, that's looking good. Got our PC for episode 6, that's looking good. Got our save data for our maps. We've got this. So here we're going to have custom event update tier appearance. I'm doing as good as I can, mate. Check this out. I made this on stream yesterday. Started a 1 hour stream, did another 1 hour, and then I did 2 hours faffing, and then kind of got this sorted. I'm being the best version of me in the past 2 days. So we're updating the tier appearance for this node. Let's get our save data. Get current tier. If that is, I'm going to say equal to, and then we have node data. Let's break this out, grab our tier, hide everything else. Alrighty, so now we have this. This says this is our current node. We will play that animation that we created earlier. We'll play that animation infinitely, and we will update node appearance on our begin or tier appearance. And so now we should theoretically get, yeah, some press me animation. And so from here we'll start saving as we move through. We'll start saving. That animation is a little bit ridiculous, so we're gonna just going to clean that up a little bit. Be a little bit nicer. Yeah, that'll do. Anyway, so we're here and we can click it. And so that will then highlight the line. What's that going on here? It changes as updating the path, or is it generated once? So the map is generated once. Like I'm pressing a button to redraw it, and then the idea is if you click this line highlights and this one ebbs as an option. If I click this one after, because that's now the only available one that I can click, these two highlight, and now these two ebb, and depending on which path I go, you know, you get just led through the path. So that's what we're doing in the next hour. It's just getting this all to become a game, if you like, or a gameable UI, where you might click that and actually bring up a level that you do some sort of challenge battle, or open a treasure, or answer a 3-question story, which we're not going to make any of that stuff. We're just making the UI. But in particular now, what I want to do is add the click event. So it's just event mouse down, clicked. I swear there used to be a generic click event for every thing, but in this case what we're going to have to do is override on mouse down. We could turn this into a button, and then you click the, yeah, let's just do that. Let's wrap this with a hidden button. So in the style, just make sure to get rid of, if you want it to be a hidden button, just get rid of the padding. So now it's here. and then just change the background color to nothing. Easy. So let's call this button node, and from here now we can have clicked, and we can actually put our hover events onto here as well. A little bit cleaner logic. So let's take this. So that hovered events. If we click, we can do what we were going to do with that, which is, I actually don't know yet how I'm going to manage this next part, but we will see. Let's call this mouse events. Alrighty. Make sure that's still working. Seems back to front to me. Hovered, unhovered. Oh, I know what's going on. Well, partially. So here, this needs to be non-hit testable because the image is actually blocking the mouse. So weird. Huh. So maybe I need to get a reference to that button. Just ask if this is hovered. So I think that is hovered prior, was asking if the actual button itself was hovered, and of course the button's not hovered. The whole widget itself is hovered. It's core geometry, but now it's the button, so that's cool. We also don't want to allow highlight. We also don't want to allow the highlight if the tier is different, so let's promote this to player tier. Update the color. When we're updating our color, we care about this tier. It's basically if my tier is more than the player tier, then there's going to be more to this. Because it's essentially, can I click this? We're going to actually need to know the exact node that the player is on. Let's do this properly. Right. We need to know the exact node that the player is on. We need to put that into our save data. So BP save data, current tier. We're going to change this to an F underscore node. Map node. Current node. The reason I'm going to use this is because it has tier, position, type, and the destinations. And it's that destinations that matters in drawing all those lines and highlighting the right ones. So, cool, current node, that means that we need to change our save data. Set node. Let's change this here. Okay. So then our first node should just be 0. Position 0. Technically it's -1. We'll say -1 is our default node. Like we don't have one. So in our path node now, when we get that save data, let's change this to node, map node, player node. Save, just cache that, essentially. And update the color. Now, player node break. Player's tier is equal to -1. And my tier to 0. Then we'll have a set in behavior. Let's double check what we need over here for the animation first. So the animation should only ebb if this condition is wrong now. Hello. Okay, yeah. One of my mic applications died. Can you hear me now? Dead? Oh, you can hear me, yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, it's coming through on the mic now. As soon as you said it, I looked at my mic levels and I was like, oh yeah, the mic isn't doing anything. So yeah, I'm using NVIDIA Broadcast, which has a noise cancellation function so that you can't hear my fan or my typing too much on the keyboard, hopefully. Hopefully you can't hear me typing on the keyboard too much. That application died, so there was no fallback for the microphone. I might need to find a fallback function. Anyway, thanks for letting me know. I'm glad there's someone here, because if no one was here, I would never have noticed. So right now we're about to save the path of nodes that we move through. So once we click and we set that node that was our last node, we also need to update our node path. So in here, we did I not rename the function? Oh, right. Set node here. So we already have the set node function. It actually already saves the data, so we don't need to do that. But what we can do in this set node function before we save the data is also get root and add that node to the root and then save it. And so now we have a root. What we can do is when we update our appearance, we get our save, we get our current node. Probably just get the root. Let's just one time make a new function with this. Set visited. Visited. Oh, I already have a function called set visited. Hilarious. Let's just do was visited. Has been visited? Question mark. Visited? Question mark. The noise cancellation is amazing. If I turned it off, you would you'd hear like so much. But yeah, because I have multiple user profiles as well, and it's like a system level tool, I guess. If I've already logged into my other profile and then go to my work account, I have to like reset everything about it, because you open it and it just goes like, can't do it, boss. The only option you have is to quit. So I have to like go and exit the task and stuff like that. It's a bit of a pain, but a small niggle for what is otherwise a great tool. I'll live with it. It's like the smallest con. Okay, so has been visited. This is save, I guess. Okay, so for each of these, let's just go through, break, and essentially take our node data, break that, and if the tier and position are the same, then that's us. So if this is ever true, we just return true. And if we get to the end of the loop and we didn't find ourselves, then we were never visited. This can be pure. There's no need for that to be a function. And then, in fact, we had a set visited function, but like it's a little bit overkill. Where did I put it? It's right here. Because we're updating the appearance, we'll just do it here in this root. So we don't really need this. It's never going to change. It's not a function that we're going to call from anywhere else. And that's one nice way to think about like what's a function and what's just in your event tree. Is if you're never going to call this from somewhere else, it's like purely local. Depending on how many times you're going to set it, just put it in your event, straight into your execution, because in this particular case, this is like a very binary, like one time I'm gonna change this boolean once, never going to become unvisited. So there's no point really having a function called set visited, because like we're never going to call set visited from literally anywhere else ever again. Where it's only going to happen the one time. So it's a nice way to just think about that. Just like don't bloat up all your functions with things. And the reason I put this in here is because it's a bit of a loop and I don't really want it in my event graph. I want my event graph to be a little bit readable. So now that that's happening, we should start getting this little path going, and then we can go to the boss. So we've achieved within the first hour at least the path part. Now we need to do the actual like lines in between. I want those to also be lit brighter when traveling to them. Another thing that I think would be quite fun is those lines aren't moving unless you've actually traveled them. That would be quite fun. And so the way to do that is just get the dynamic material for this and set a scalar parameter called speed. Actually, sorry, this is in the line I'm talking about, right? Let's open the line. Get the scalar parameter for this image. Set the scalar parameter for this image. Speed. We'll just set it to 0 quickly to see that this actually works. So if we multiply this by speed, then when we hit play, we should just have lines that don't move. Awesome. Yeah, so we still have the save data for all the maps and nodes that we visited. So what's happening here is the actual map regenerated and only some of those nodes exist. So one thing I'm going to do quickly is firstly reset that data. So now that data's gone. And then, hey Anna Geek, if you're into UI and UX, follow us. We're trying to find all of you guys. That's like kind of the plan. The plan is to find our people. So yeah, follow us on LinkedIn. Like, go join us on LinkedIn. We do some really cool posts over there. So it's just UX is fine on LinkedIn. You and I. Okay, so like I was just saying, it's like the map is getting regenerated every time, but the save data is still there. So what I need to do is when I create this map, if I get save data and if I read this save data and say map, get current map, if that is not empty, then that's the tier data that we're going to be using today. Aha. Otherwise, we're going to generate that new map. And so what should happen in theory, and what I've been building towards this whole time, is our map is just saved and our route is saved. So let's have a look. We've got this pretty like simple 4 grid here. Bam, 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 bam. We're halfway up. We're at this node. We went in a bit of a zigzag. So let's play again. It absolutely 100% did not work. Oh, I know why. I never saved the map. I haven't saved the map yet. So let's go do that. we get this. Where do we do this? Right, create map. If we didn't do this, then what we do here is save map, set map, tier data. Just plug that in. It would help if I saved the map when I'm attempting to load the previous map. That would. It's like the curse of every programmer. It's like, I wrote this code and it just doesn't work. It's because you didn't call it. I mean, this one's pretty simple. We're just going up the left-hand side. Let's see if that worked. Absolutely failed miserably. I'm wondering if it's a serialization issue. So let's have a look. Does this actually save the data? It does. Let's do some debugging here. So we're going to save. The reason I say maybe it's a serialization issue is because we now have nested. Things. I was watching on YouTube. I didn't know it was also streaming on Twitch. Sorry, I just got here, but both of those paths procedurally created. Yeah, let me do a quick run through because welcome. Let's take a look at what we've been making. So these are. Oh, I need to get rid of this. These are procedurally generated or procedurally generated. They're generated through some logic that I wrote that is based on, if I go here, essentially we draw the dots, we draw paths that can either go left, up, or right, and we do 6 of those in this case. We can draw 3 or 2 if we want, but then we get these crossovers that I don't like. So then we create some logic which just determines whether a neighbor has crossed over to my left or to my right and don't go in those directions. That just eliminates those crossovers, and then you have this path thing. It's a really neat little thing, and it was a little bit of research that I did. It's used in a couple of games like Cult of the Lamb, FTL, Inscription, and obviously Slay the Spire. And so the code for this is somewhat simple. We get the map info and we create the paths, and this logic here, all this is doing is it's getting the -1, 0, 1 from my position. So if I'm 3, I can go to 2, 3, and 4 on the next tier. And then if there isn't, of all the transitions, we look through all the transitions and we check the absolute distance to see, like, did that transition come from my left or right? And is it going to the left or right and creating a cross? And if it is, then that's not good. And then we don't cache that as a safe position. At the end, we just check if we have a safe position in the array, or 2 or 3, we'll just randomize it. Otherwise, we'll just use the current position, which just means it goes straight up. Straight up is always safe. That's the map generation. I then convert that into tier data and so what this essentially does is it adds 1 entry in the struct for every unique node, because you're drawing 6 paths and they can merge and then split, which looks cool. But what ends up happening is you now actually have 2 data for node in that one location. And so you only want 1 node there. So what this function does is it just cancels it down and says, hey, if we already found a node at this position, then don't do anything. If we didn't, then I want to add this to my node data, and I want to use all destinations of any node that is at this position. So if there's 2 or 3 prongs coming out of 1 node, we draw 1 node and we tell it all those destinations. Now we have a nice little clean array. From there, we go into our widget. Once we've generated this map data, we draw the nodes. So we have this nice little graph here that just says go through every node, create a node, set its position on the graph equal to what I have here, which is get canvas position based off tier and position. And so depending on an enum, which is like up, down, left, or right, depending on which direction you want to draw this get canvas position just does some translation. It's either position multiplied by position distance or tier multiplied by tier distance, or if you're the final node, it's actually like centered and then just flipped for the other directions, basically, just like literally the X and Y is the opposite way around. I could clean that up with a selector, but that's fine. Then we have our lines. So similarly, once we've drawn all the widgets and they've got a little bit of jitter, right? Like we've literally drawn a square grid. If I turn the jitter off, it's just a straight grid. Then I jitter them just a little bit, and I want to draw lines between those jittered widget positions. So we draw a line based on the widgets. I'm saving them basically. As I create them, I get this local widgets array, and I'm saving them out as a list per tier. So it's like tier 1 widgets, tier 2 widgets, tier 3 widgets, etc. I then use that to draw lines between my tier and the next tier to every destination of a node. That's like the whole logic and spiel of it. Saving it is a bit of a problem though. So let's take a look again. So I wanted to save it. I really want to save this. I really want to save it. So it is saving it with internals. It is saving it with internals. So it saves it. Cool, cool. Super cool. I wonder if, for any reason, it saves the data there. Click. Now, this map is still valid. Yeah, that map is still valid. Cool. Then we go here. Map is still valid. Yeah. Except we're missing... See how the data is different here? Interesting. Like this one has tier 1, but then it just goes straight to type. It's like it's losing data. Yeah, nested arrays are just not great. Not always great. So we'll just go to there, then we'll cancel it. Yeah. And then in our node, we had this has been visited logic. And in our UI, when we create our map, we check if we have save data current map, and if that's not empty, oh, the problem would be that we never drew the map. Let's draw the map. Why is it every time? I'm using a canvas. Yeah, typically I avoid the canvas, as we know as UI designers in Unreal UMG. The canvas is expensive. It has all of the paint like considerations, but in this case it kind of has to be a canvas, unless you're going to do the whole thing in a material HLSL, which I'm not going to do. Grid panel, I didn't consider using a grid panel, to be honest. It does make sense because you would just set the you would just set them, and then maybe you would transform them a little bit. I didn't think about using the grid. I would then want to draw the lines, right? So the lines themselves are like a straight line, and I post it in, twist it, which means its geometry is still just facing down, but I've twisted the render translation up into the whatever direction, or to the right or to the left. So now I've got this line, and then the distance gets affected because the pivot is at one end. So then I'm just lengthening the y-axis of the image, and then I have a material that uses the user interface UVs and just divides that by 32 units. And so then I get this nice like repeated line that I'm panning. That again is like, it needs to be placed at a position on the viewport that is where that widget is. So I could place it in the grid, in this over on the same grid slot, I suppose, rotate it and do the same offset. Yeah. So I guess you could do it through the grid, but I'd need to know, I guess I'd have to do a bunch more math to some degree, because I'd need to get the local, I'd still need to get like the cached geometry of the next grid item, right? So, because I need to what I'm doing is when I'm offsetting them slightly, I'm getting an angle that's based on trigonometry to actually point the line in the right direction, and then also use the trigonometry to get the distance that I need to move. So I'd still need to extract all that like local um, translation from the cache geometry. I'd need to pull all of that out. Um, at which point I was just like, I'm just going to use the canvas panel. um, Sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. But you're right, you could totally do it that way. But you'd need to extract those positions to do the trigonometry on which angle and which distance is this between each other as they've been after they've been jittered. I don't have other ways of doing that line, so we're drawing a straight widget. This is the widget here, and then it just changes based on screen UVs. Yeah, I did do in the last episode. I did do. Oh look, we got our UI actually worked. I think. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah. I mean, it's rendered it in a different direction, but let's go. Oh, what did I do there? Oh, I can click any of them. That's hilarious. Let's just go up the right hand side, hop over to the left. Yeah. What was I just saying? Performance. Yeah. So on our FPS, we're at 120 right now. I mean, think of it like this to some degree. The code at least runs once. The code is just like, bam, you're done, you're generated. Drawing it is different, right? So let's have a look at stats slate. We are at 3 ms on the total slate tick time. So that is actually considerably high. I'm wondering if once I've drawn it, I can do something to reduce that cost, because that's quite high. Draw window and children time. Yeah, I mean, you're only going to be on this one screen, right? In this case, like there might be some more UI and there might be some sounds. There might be a world in the background. Who knows? What else would be in the screen? Yeah, it could be an environment in the background. But generally, yeah, you're interacting with this, and so you could say, oh, that's 3 or 4 ms for your gameplay, which would be acceptable at that point, right? I guess, like as long as you're not dipping. But 120 FPS in the editor, I'm fine with, because like it's not even cooked. That said, I can click on every single node. Let's regenerate this. At least this is working. I can't hover anything that's not allowed. I can hover these. So this guy is highlighting. He's not been visited. That's wrong. Let's finish this up. We've got 40 minutes. That's not bad. 40 minutes left, including conversation. So I've got to bear that in mind. Yeah, I'm glad someone else in UI is telling me that it's okay. Because that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. I mean, it is 125th, so we're okay there. Generally, the core cost, yeah. Like, if you were to say like running around a map with a rifle, and the cost of that is whatever you say it is, and then for your budget, like the budget of this screen to be able to just draw that map is the key component of that part of the game. So we can have a high budget, I would say. So it's not like 10 or 20 ms. Just kill the frame rate. My music stopped. My awesome elevator music. I don't know if anyone else can hear the music. I purposely turned it down this time. We're going to go for intelligent drum and bass, which is just like very instrumental, very PlayStation 1 era drum and bass. I don't want to use anything that's made by a real person because it basically means I get copyright striked, which is fine because we're not making money on these. But I don't want to be muted. It's like all of these are by real artists, and none of it's copyright free. Like, yeah, sub focus, my dick. Look, I can't play any of that stuff. Streamer friendly. Try this one. I usually also look for no adverts, but we got the adverts. Okay, we're cooking. Felt like you were in the elevator. Yeah, good. do, 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 do. I think Peak, the game Peak, where it has like the elevator music at the beginning, has had an inspiration on the selection of music this morning. It's a good game. Okay. So, stretch. Coffee. Let's absolutely smash the next part. Firstly, I shouldn't be allowed to click this unless I can travel to it. Secondly, I think it's considering player's route here. Why is that first entry lit? I think we can go to the blueprint debugger. Because you have all the nodes, it's one of the first nodes, and it is true. Its tier is 0, its position is 0. And the player node's tier is -1. What's the... Let's go and have a look at the save data. So blueprint debugger on the save data here. Player root has 0, 0. Oh, why does it have 0, 0? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, it has literally got an entry in it that is 0, 0 by default. That's funny. Okay, there we go. So now we can go up this. That's cool. Okay, so the next thing is to just get those lines drawing, and in order to do that, the way I'm going to do that, when I draw these lines, I actually access the nodes, like each of the nodes. I go through the tier, I get the nodes, each of the nodes, and then I get their destinations, and then I find wait, what do you hear? I find the destination, and then I add this line widget. So what I need to do here is just return the local line widget. So we'll just call this out line widget. We'll go back to are you still there, Anna? Are you if you're still there, are you in industry? Or are you indie? Which is also part of the industry, don't get me wrong. I too am have and always will be indie. I just work in a job that lets me do fun things. I know Iron Taxi is indie. Sujeru, I wonder if you're into game dev. Fetch, I don't know if you're still there. So where am I? We draw our lines. We get this output now. I can get this node widget. If I open up that node widget here, I'm going to add an array of line widget. line widgets. Based in Brazil. I've had a lot of people from Brazil jump on the stream or comment on the YouTube channel. Just like sort of find it surprising that I'm reaching people in Brazil, which is awesome. I worked with a guy from Brazil for a few years. It was really cool. PC and VR. I really enjoyed working in VR, and I really want to get back to doing it. In particular, because I want to make the Sword Art Online interface. Like I just want to be able to touch like the buttons and have it just nicely blink and stuff. So I might actually set myself up for VR one of these weeks, and we'll try and make like the Sword Art sort of stuff. So I should have a line somewhere, path line. Oh no, that one. So what we do is we set line widgets. Ooh, we'll have to get line widgets. Add this. From there, let's just find out if. I guess what I'm going to need to do is at the end of this loop, I'm going to need to get all widgets of class node and update their appearance again, or at least update their lines. Let's make a new custom event. VR makes me dizzy. Yeah, worst job to have if your VR makes you dizzy. Yeah, there's a lot of psychology around that. Is VR like, I would say, a sustainable place to work? Like, I never hear that there's like much of a market. Yeah, you play a lot of VR, right? Out in Taxi, I know. We built that Alliance game, right? And that was all VR. Oh yeah, so Anna, if you and anyone else listening, if you want to see a game that me and Iron Taxi worked on together, it's called Night Star Alliance, and I worked on it with the Brazilian guy that I was talking about. He did all the artwork and some of the game design. It was his IP. So it's built by Tiny Leviathan. It's a company that Iron Taxi owns, and so if you go on Steam and type in Night Star Alliance, you can check that game out. It's a VR game. It's best way I could describe it is it's like one of those like forward-scrolling Galaga games, but you build your ship along the way, and as you shoot ships, parts come off, and you grab them and slot them onto your thing, and your ship builds. Yeah, it's pretty old now. God, that was 2019, maybe 2018, 2019. Update lines. We'll call this. We'll call this anytime that we update our appearance as well. Update lines. We will 2019, yeah. March is a good month for releasing indie games for me. Guards came out in March as well. Might aim for a release next March. Didn't we release Exfil in March? No, we did it in December, didn't we? You should release the 1.0 in March. So for this branch visited, if we've been visited, then we're going to do something to these lines. Custom event. We'll just set this to visited as well. Or set highlight, we'll call it, because you might highlight it for other reasons. Set color, opacity, select, highlight. If it's highlighted, we'll just do white. If it's not highlighted, we'll just do 0.4. So you need to go check what I did for this. We'll go 0.3. .3 for this, and then we said we'd do the speed thing because that would be cool. Although we'll do the speed thing. We'll do the speed thing in a second. Let's see if this works. Which it won't. Because guess what? I didn't do. So what? Guess what I didn't do, everybody? I didn't call the function. So when we load it, we didn't, it's not drawing. Yeah, and it's also highlighting the lines that we didn't actually traverse across, so I need to do some logic to check actually which lines to highlight. That's looking good though, and then yeah. Oh, and then it's not going to do the last line. Oh, because the last lines are created in a different system. It's like that last node and those last lines are separately created, so I need to do some management around that. Yep, always forever not calling functions. Yeah, it's a spaceship game with pixel art. It's kind of lo-fi. I'd say it's lo-fi. It's pretty cool. I was proud of it. So we're close to being done, I would say. You can pick a start point. We can travel up. We can't click on any other nodes. We need to finish. We need to do something with the end node, and I want to highlight these correctly. So this one isn't correct. How do we do this? So root. We'll just get save. Get root. Get the root. We'll take all of this and convert this to a function. It's just like get root lines, where we're going to determine if that was actually the traveled path. So we'll promote this to local variable L out lines. We will just call this outlines. We're going to go through every... How do we do this? Here we know... What does the line widget know? Line widget doesn't really know anything. It knows itself. It doesn't really know what its destination is. So we're going to need to add some data to this line, which is like the target node, essentially. Yeah, I kind of think it needs to know its target node. So we add that here. We have all these widgets. We have the node widget, which is where it's going to come from. We have a destination widget. And we're going to add a line widget using that destination. So we'll get that destination. Oh, we'll get the 2. Oh no. Of course, the 2 widget is not of the same class. So let's just change that. Path node. May as well change them both, because otherwise it's a bit confusing. Path node. So here we just get node data. What would be better is to actually just say what's the widget that this is facing, because the widget already holds the node data. So widget underscore path node. I'm going to do it different. Like that. Refresh this. Just plug the node straight in there, because now it's got something better, I would say. It's got more capabilities. Okay, so in this path node, here we can get the target node, we can get the node data from it, we can break that out, we can get the position, and so what we need to do is go through each entry in the player route. We need to pull out only the lines that we traveled, so as we go through the player route, we want to what do we want to do here? We essentially need to cache this tier in position for every tier in position, then go through our line widgets and say, hey, good. My node knows of my two widgets. I'll tell you what we can do is say, hey, get the, that's the player node. This is the node data here. Get my tier. Oh, we can do an AND. If this route is equal to my tier in position, then go through all of my line widgets. Got the destination. We essentially want to get the next, get a reference of this +1. We probably want to ask if that's valid. If it's valid, get it, break it, and if its position is equal to the position of the path there. So actually the outline is not going to be an array. It's just going to be a single, because it's only ever one line. Let's move all this over. Clean this up with some reroutes. I'm trying not to make this a local variable, because then I'm just going to store this massive map of data every time. I could store this save data as a local variable. L save ref. That just helps me maybe clean up the graph a little bit. So this we can promote to local variable L root index. Spelled wrong. Okay, so root index, put that down here. Okay. Root index +1 is valid, get root index +1. And check if the for each line widget. Really all I need to do is promote this to a local variable. Promote local variable. Next visited destination L I'll just call it L destination. If there is no destination, I can actually early out on this. So we would just return nothing. So let's get the save ref. If my tier +1 is not valid in the player route, then this is the last node in the player route, or it's just not there, maybe. It's starting to get tired, I suppose. So it's like 8 AM. Time is it? It's almost time. Yeah, we've got 18 minutes to just finish this one line. And from there we could add animations like spinning and all this sort of stuff. I'm probably going to do that all off cam and upload a video of it at some point where it has some really cool animations. Okay, so get the route lines, save the ref. Is it valid for the next tier destination? If it's not, then we're not going anywhere. Then we've already got our destination, so we don't really need to do that. For the... it's going to be this guy. My line widget, get my target node's position, and if that's equal to the destination that I found, return it. Event graph, set highlight. Okay, let's try that. Didn't like that because it's not going to be valid in some cases. So let's actually validate that. I mean, all of this could just go here. We don't even need to actually return anything. We just return. Don't really need to return anything. Yeah, so now we're ignoring this one. We're ignoring this one. Cool. And then if I escape and press play, it doesn't update those lines. So let's... it is supposed to update the lines here. I'm going to remove this function and just rename this update lines. What? Oh, got it. Compile it, update lines. We'll plug that into the main widget. Never finding it. I wonder why that is. Should also really only run this if we've been visited. Have a look. If we've been visited and there is a player route, it's pretty in depth. And my tier +1 is valid. My tier +1's destination position is something. In this case, apparently it's 0. Go through each of my line widgets, which are currently none. God damn it. Doesn't make any sense. Come back here. Well, actually, come back here when you hit this. So why are we not receiving load widget, line widgets plus? Oh, it's top level only. Yeah, the get all widgets of class was top level only, so that's like literally like if it's drawn to the viewport, get it and update the lines. And so that tick box, as usual, a tick box was the problem, and so now we're cooking. We've got 12 minutes still, so that gives us some time to fix the end of the path. So we can we can only go there, and then obviously I want this to be highlighted. Another thing I was wondering is, if I'm here and this is glowing, that line should technically be glowing. In fact, if I'm here, these two lines I think should be glowing. All lines should be 0 by default, like, in my opinion. I think that will look cool. So we'll just hit play. All lines are 0 except for the ones that we've traveled. Those ones are moving. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look at... I kind of want the next line to also be highlighted. So in the path node, what we could say is if we've been visited, which we have, and if the player routes get last index get is, I wonder if you could just do an equals on this. You cannot just do an equals. It sucks. So if the tier and position are equal to my node data's tier and position, then we're going to, I mean, here we're just going to say yes. Then we're going to highlight all of our lines. Otherwise, we'll run this other logic. So this goes here. Let's grab all of this. Should really comment all this logic, to be honest. Highlight only the lines we traveled. This one is, if this is the last node, highlight all outgoing lines. Wait, play. So yeah, now we get these two lines that are like heading towards our thing, and then we don't actually tell our other lines to not be highlighted. So we should, at the beginning here, when we update our highlights, we should just reset the highlight on our old ones. Yep. Oh. Oh, right. is not empty. I'm accessing it, but it's empty, so that's like an immediate error. I don't like how this is like fat and wide, so we do have some variables for this. We have like tier distance. Let's stick with 100 on the tiers. This distance, let's just go back to 100. That looks a lot cooler. Can't click on any of these other ones. This is the one that we're going for. When I click it, I want to have like a little you get it, a little oh, stretch, don't forget to stretch. Okay, so in Photoshop we'll make a new we'll go 128 by 128. Bring that over here. Hide this. In fact, we'll just make this visible, but we'll invert it so that we can create a nice mask for ourselves. I want to basically create like a brush stroke circle. Is not something that I'm particularly good at, so I'm going to steal something from gameicons.net, which is a I guess if you're actually selling something, it's CC BY, but obviously I'm doing this live on stream, so you know exactly where I got it from, which is where I get a lot of my icons from. Really do love that website. Okay, so I should have a magic swirl. Bring that in. Get rid of the rubbish in the middle. So now we'll have something that we could maybe, like when you click, it sort of just goes whoosh. Just sort of, just a whoosh. Just a whoosh. File export as PNG. Whips. We'll go T underscore brush stroke circle. Put that away, open up our art folder, import that. Apply the Paper 2D sprite settings, save that, go to our node. We've got an overlay here that we can play with. So we'll add an image into that. This is the image, it's that brush stroke that we had. It needs to be a little bit larger, which means everything else, like the image, needs to be more centered. A little bit too large now. I want this color to be gray on our background. I want to have a click anim, or selected anim, I should say. I want to rotate that essentially 360. So yeah, when you click it, you get this cool animation. By default, this is I'm just going to use render opacity. By default, it doesn't have a render opacity. Additionally, actually, let's just have a look here. What's the default angle for this? Kind of like that angle. Go there. Keyframe that. -135 plus 360. That's cool. Okay, and then so this is image underscore selected, and this is image underscore icon. All right, very close to the end of this one. We've got 3 minutes left. We can do it. We can do it. If we've been visited, then we are just going to set the render opacity to 1, basically. And if we've been clicked, and then we update our appearance, it's going to become 1, but we're also going to play that animation. It's going to become visited when we update the appearance of all these widgets, but we're also going to play our cool animation, selected anim. So let's try that. That again. It would be cool if the icon also sort of bounced during that selection. Like you clicked it, right? So you, you poked it and it sort of went backwards. Yeah, that'll do. The color of this I'm not too happy with. Wonder if I can hit play and change the color at the same time. Apparently not. Purple's cool. Cheaper way to do this would be to animate it through the material. Rotating the actual widget updates the paint geometry, which means you might actually see it when I create a new graph and I click. You might see, I mean, it's negligible, so let's just say it's negligible. If you were rotating 100 things at once, not so much. So that's working, but the last line doesn't highlight. So let's fix that, and we've got 1 minute to fix that. So how do we do it? Let's go to our episodes here. We've got our path node. We've got has been visited. We've got update lines. I suppose node data break. If the last... Oh, I tell you what I didn't do. Right. Let's go to the... We're not going to do this in a 30 seconds. Well, we've got 30 seconds. That was a quick 30 seconds. When I create that boss node widget, I need to add boss node widget. Set add line widget. Get line widgets, add this, and then update appearance at the end. Oh, yeah, at the end here. Do. Yeah, that's not working. Oh, now I can't click him again. What? Well, I do have to stop the stream. So thanks everyone for watching. We know where the issue is, and we can definitely fix the issue with that last bit. But that's where we got to. So we have these cool little animations. and then just got to fix that boss bit. One thing I wanted to show, just for fun at the end here, was if we go num tiers like 25, we go like, we'll stick like maybe 6 in here, we get like an absolute smashed error. Just to access 8. What I wanted to show you is that if I change... oh, I know what happened. Can I skip this? So what's happening is my save data is messed up. So let me just go kill the save data, and then we can have a look at like a super graph. Yeah, so now we have this like mega graph. Let's go. So that's cool. One other thing I wanted to try was doing it really wide. So if the number of positions is like 25, but the number of tiers is only like 7, how does that look? It doesn't scroll very well. It doesn't scroll at all, in fact. I can't scroll to the right. I find it interesting that there's very few crossovers. That's pretty cool. That's a cool one. Num positions, let's just go like 15. Let's do distance between positions is only 50, and the jitter is just 0. So we could go, number of paths is like, there's 10 paths and there's 20 positions. Need a little bit more position distance. Pretty cool. That should go upwards. Bam, bam, bam. I just take the one that's just a straight path. So it's cool. We have the save data sorted as well. Okay, so that's pretty much everything. Thanks, man. It was a good one. That's the end of this series for this one. We're going to move on to something else. Let's take a look at our ideas, and we'll see if there's anyone in chat that wants to vote on anything. Go ahead. We've got Tarkov, Peak. I did this one a little bit ahead of time because I was excited. We've got the Destiny bottom corner. It's not too crazy. We've got the Dead Space stuff. We've got some Metal Gear Solid stuff. We've also got a bunch of references up here for other stuff. So like Far Cry here, Resident Evil. This is a really crazy one. I don't want to tackle that yet. I don't know how I'm going to do that one. This is a spiral UI. Like never made a spiral UI before. I've done something like this actually recently, so we could always do a diegetic watch. These UI, like this one, and sort of like the Division interface. I do like that. Could go into that. So gamepad cursors. I was thinking of doing some gamepad cursor stuff. Again, there's another Division one here. This was requested. The weapon UI. So it actually appears on your weapon and it follows around corners. Here's an example of that in action. So it shows you all your abilities and stuff as you move, which could be fun. There's just some crazy stuff that Assassin's Creed did at one point. There's more maps that we could do. There's this UI I really wanted to do, which is like Shield Hero, similar to what we did actually. So a lot of the logic that we just made will help us with this. The lines between these nodes, and wrapped around a sphere, we'll actually take the render texture of a widget component and just wrap it on a sphere's material, and then actually rotate that sphere, and we'll have like UI rendered to 3D geometry. There's some topographical map stuff from, I think this is Remnant, or the other one, not Remnant. Can't remember, didn't play it. Saw that online here. Just a cool hex grid thing that I found, or just any hex grid really. Again, saw that online VR stuff. Might install VR. And we've got some more Tarkov stuff and some This is the one I actually played, Grey Zone Warfare. I really enjoyed that game. Great game. Anyway, we've got loads of stuff. If there's no recommendations, then I'm moving on, and I will make some decisions. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.